Peace, how you doing? This message here is about the mind of mankind, particularly those that are currently like in power, have been in power. Um, there's something disturbing about many of these individuals in power and that have been in power. Uh, Many of our creations and inventions, um, some of the most ingenuitive and constructive things that have come from the mind of man, the imagination then manifested into inventions or discoveries that could, did, and should be used for the betterment, the empowerment, and the upliftment and the improvement of man and fellow mankind somehow always presents as a double-edged sword. Like there's always this dichotomy to life, like your yin and your yang, your good, your bad, your ups and downs, your troughs, your peaks, Um, but it's very interesting when we think about the inventions and the discoveries of mankind. And the reason I bring this up is because I want to show you how the thought process descends, goes from a higher height, it goes from discovery and creation to a depraved mindset that is specifically honed in on death and destruction. For some reason, it has a tropism, it has an affinity for death and carnage, right? Now, you're probably saying, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, let's go ahead and start with it, right? So, man somehow stumbled upon the dynamic gift of fire, right? And with fire, it allowed man to cook food. Um, it allowed man to rid itself of germs, you know. Um, Fire was one of the best inventions. It gave light to the world. So between lighting and being able to cook food properly and thoroughly, that was a blessing. That was a dynamic discovery for man in history. Now, the depraved mind, man says, that's fire. I can use that to cook food. I can use that for heat and light. Then the depraved mind comes along and says, yeah, not only can I use it for cooking and heating and lighting, I can make a flamethrower in which I can throw flames around and just burn up stuff and burn up villages and burn people. And, we could use it like a flamethrower gun. See what I'm saying? That's a depraved mind where it goes from discovery and creation to how can I use this discovery or creation to cause death and torment, right? It's demonic. It's really demonic. Let's give you another example. We learn about gas, the discovery of gas and oil, and what it's done. It's helped become an agent of fuel so that machinery can run, right? And it also helps with heating. And also, when we think of, the automobile industry, so transportation. So we think of gas, we think of like transportation, we think of heating, and we think of like industries that really benefit from the fact that they have gas and fuel. The depraved mind of man then comes along and says, you know what? I can use gas to kill people, i.e. Hitler. I can make a gas chamber and I can put all these people inside this room and lock it and close it. And I know they need oxygen, but I'm going to pump them full of gas. See what I'm saying? The depraved mind of man is demonic. It's demonic. Let's move along. We were blessed with the discovery of electricity. We learned how matter moves on an atomic level, protons, neutrons, electrons, and how stuff goes from a positive charge to a negative charge, and all of that, right? The pathway of energy and how energy is disseminated. We come up with electricity. Electricity does what? It helps run the, on an industrial level, kind of like oil. Electricity also provides lighting. Most of our tools and everything run on electricity. It is a form of energy. What does the depraved mind say? How can I find a way to use this gift, this discovery, towards torment, torture, and death? Well, let's create an electric chair. That works. Let's create an electric chair and we can kill people and torture people through electricity. Do you see what I'm saying? It's that double-edged sword. Wherever there's an invention or discovery, somehow the mind of man and some type of men always have to pervert a discovery or an invention for the purposes of death and torture. We look on the nuclear level where we can power massive cities. I mean, hectares, swaths, and miles of cities. That's on a nuclear level. And what do? We create atomic bombs, nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads. For what? The purpose of killing. So this is a gift of energy. I'm going to take this and I'm going to figure out a way to use and kill and maim people and destroy people. All right? You look at something as cotton. Cotton was, once we learned how to manipulate the plant, it has given us clothing, so we have warmth, insulation, and then what does man do? I can turn cotton into rope, and with the rope, I can hang people. I can lynch people with this cotton. The mind of certain people is hell-bent on evil and destruction, death, torture, and torment. How do you go from something like this of nature and your mind immediately goes to, how can I use this to torture people, right? We were given certain elements and substances and molecules. And with that, we create medicine. We come up with penicillin. We come up with all types of different medicines and therapies to heal ourselves and heal our loved ones and the sick, right? And in the same instance, we use that same chemistry to say, you know what? We can make lethal injection cocktails where we can kill people with chemicals by injecting it into their bloodstream. You see what I'm saying? That mind of certain people is very depraved. We could take it to The gift of water that we all need. We're like 90% water. We need water for so much. From we use water in energy, hydrodynamics. We need water to quench our bodies and keep our bodies properly hydrated. We need water so that the vegetation and the plants and the trees that we need are growing. We need water. Without water, we die. And then what do we do? What does the depraved mind of man do? We can use water as a form of torture. We can waterboard people, and we can drown people, and we can use this as a method of intimidation and interrogation methods by waterboarding people. The mind of man is it's something else of these people in power. It is always hell bent on causing some type of death, destruction, and torture. Like I said, we talked about medicine and chemicals. And we also have to think about what we do with biowarfare, right? Just taking all these things and using it to cause harm. We think of the gift of flight. Do you know, before we had airplanes, it probably take us months to get from like the top of one state to the bottom of the same state. It may take you months before we had vehicles, we had horses and stuff, but before we had vehicles and things like that, you're talking about weeks and months of trips, to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, like a year. Now, the gift of flight, the invention of flight, changed the whole dynamic of how man gets around the globe and takes care of business. I can get up in DC, get to Atlanta in like 3 hours. Whereas before, that'd probably take me a couple months. That's a great invention, but what do we say? You know what? Let's equip these things, these planes, with bombs, and we make them warplanes. We can drop bombs and missiles. We make B-52 bombers. We create drones. Right? You also, I think, like the car, the automobile, Henry Ford, and the other inventors of the car. Some mode of transportation. Well, what we'll do is we'll build off of that prototype, and we'll create tanks, and we can drive these tanks around and equip the tanks with a turret gun, where you can shoot bombs and projectiles from these highly facilitated cars, these highly facilitated automobiles. That's all it is, really. A weaponized automobile, that's what a tank is. You can look at the device of how we process timber and lumber, and we need wood for fuel and furniture and building and housing and structural development. And you gotta process this wood, chop this wood, and cut it in certain ways. And the same way that we decide that we can cut wood and do that, we come up with the guillotine. I can use this device that used to cut wood and cut trees, and this thing will cut people's heads off. It's a guillotine. You see what I'm saying? There's a sequence here. And then, you look at, now we're in the 21st century, like DNA and all this, and gene therapy, where now they're saying, we can manipulate your DNA and we can remove this gene and then insert this gene, and that'll fix Huntington's disease or cystic fibrosis and all types of genetic abnormalities. And we can fix that with gene therapy, right? Sounds good, but now what are we doing? We want the rich, the rich and the elite now focus on how they can get designer babies. I want my baby to have this superior muscle strength and superior vision, and we need to find the genes that code for ultimate intelligence and smartness, and the best muscle tone and best it's to the point where it's just like you creating your clones, you design your babies, and also you get into cloning. And this is where it is. The mind of some men, it's evil. It's always about how can I take inventions and discoveries and manipulate it to something that's going to put me in dominance over other people, or how I can harm, hurt, destroy, kill, and annihilate people. So just something for y'all to think about. All right. Peace.